in lieu of this rumored most recent mousesports move where they are thinking about removing snacks and bringing back Sticko, as far as I hear, what I read, it sort of leads into this interesting discussion or thought that I've been having lately, which is that I don't think that it's a good idea to try to be the best. And I know this is sort of I'll make the title exactly that just to make it triggering and clickbaity to you people, because in the popular parlance and in the way players talk about sports in interviews, you always hear this sort of thing: "Oh, I'm trying to be the best. I'm going to be the best. The whole goal of this team is to win the championship, etc., etc." This is sort of ingrained into the language of the culture and by proxy esports culture, which is, it's not a bad thing to aim to maximize your results, right? To aim to be the best be the best in the game. To have your goals as high as possible, to do everything to, reach the highest zenith you can is, of course, admirable. But that's sort of this qualifier that you hear me keep adding: the highest zenith that you possibly can, right? To maximize your potential rather than just simply to be on top, I think is the problem that I have with this idea. Because, when you think about this mouse sports move, if you remember the original sort of press releases, I don't know if that all those were just lies and PR, but because to cover up personality issues or something like this. But the way that was communicated to the public was that, okay, we're sort of hitting this because we were sort of a placeholder top one team, but so we hit this consistent like semifinals only or quarterfinal semifinals sort of level at premier tournaments, and we want to hit the next level. So we're gonna kick Sticko, who's our worst performer, and bring in a former star for cheap, presumably. I don't know how cheap it was or not, but with Snacks, who's been on this long underperforming roster in VP. Now, you can sort of talk about why that's a bad idea, why the roles don't work, why Sticko is a better fit in that team. Like I did at the time, I think I think I've been pretty consistent on that I thought that was a bad move. That Sticko and supports players generally have a role on these international rosters, which is sort of this trend I saw with Olaf Meister and Sticko and Taco leaving SK, is sort of this devaluation of support players and small side anchors. But the whole logic there, we want to stop making semifinals and quarterfinals and start making finals again. Like, okay, maybe that's admirable to some people. Maybe that sounds like the thing you're supposed to say. But I think that it can be problematic to make it your goal to only be the best, right? Because I think you can do things. Okay, think about it like this. Say you create a roster, you're a decent team, a top 8 team, but you thinking like, how do I be the best? I have to be the best. I have to be the number one team in the world. Say there's a move that gives you a 5% chance of being the number one team in the world, but a 95% chance of dropping down to a bottom 30% team in the world. Having the mentality of, I will do anything to be the best team in the world. I will take any risk. I'll do anything. My goal is to be the best team in the world. I have to be the best team in the world. Will obviously lead you in a skew in that example. That's a bad trade, right? That's a bad decision to make. Now, I'm not saying that's the exact scenario that mouse sports are under, but to some, that's a hyper-realized or a hyperbolic example of what I think mouse sports were attempting. It seems like, well, if we by chance get lucky and Snack sort of returns to a superstar level, a top player in the world level, like he was late 2016 or early 2017 with VP, and he's on our team, then we have a really sick superstar studded or firepower studded roster, and we could be the number one team in the world again. while ignoring the high percentage shot that he's going to continue to perform as he has for the last year and a half plus, and that he's not going to work role-wise within this roster, right? And, I mean, I think it just makes more sense from my perspective to not try to be the best team in the world, but to instead make incremental improvements. There's sort of this famous clip, if you follow the NFL subreddit, of John Gruden explaining his Spider 2 Y Banana play that he's in love with, where you just throw it to the fullback, who's sort of a surprise option. But yeah, there's this, it's Andrew Luck is going through this with him, and he says, "Can't go broke making a profit." And what he means there is, okay, maybe the fullback isn't the most exciting option. It's not a Hail Mary play, but because no one expects you to throw to the fullback. It's sort of like this high percentage play to gain a few yards every time. And that's sort of his logic on it. You can't go broke making a profit is sort of this funny way of saying, well, it's okay if we don't score a touchdown this play. As long as we do good on every play, we're in good shape. And I think that's a more reasonable approach to roster moves, specifically in the Sticko snacks debacle and mouse sports, but also in terms of, I think, Counter-Strike more generally. I mean, there's obviously no 100% chance of anything. I mean, is there a 100% chance that we're even in a world that's not the Matrix, right? We're not some projection, we're not some fantasy, or even alive or something like this. I mean, why not take steps to improve your roster and to take incremental improvements rather than Hail Marys or giant risks? It doesn't matter. I mean, even especially in this environment where Charles is so far ahead of the pack, why would you try to make those sort of risks right now when I think more stable, consistent, in my opinion, better rosters with, say, support players who might have that lagging factor or nagging ability to not get kills, but work within your team, can hold bomb sites, can do what you want, can give you some consistency, are available. Why not go for the MBKs, the Tacos, the Stickos of the world when they're available? Why try to make a superstar into a guy that can be a supportive player on the off chance that superstar support player will lead your team to somehow be better than this sort of juggernaut in Astralis? I mean, it seems like a faulty proposition, right? It doesn't seem like a high percent. It doesn't seem like a plus EV strategy, if you want to go that sort of terminology. So from my perspective, why don't teams just, instead of going for the weird, let's add a Stewie 2K and Tarek sort of role and say, well, what do we need right now? What can improve our team a bit? What's not a huge risk, but what can improve us in the short term, and what can, and then going forward, what can our next roster move improve us? I know that sort of in the life cycle of teams that, because of contracts and because of, the sort of pseudo roster lock enforced by the major, that you can't trade up players super often, so that initial boost might eventually go into a decline, and you might not just keep going up and up and up, takes one step after another in great succession. But still, I think as long as you're making a move that makes sense, that works with your team, that isn't especially risky, that seems to be an improvement on paper, I think the mentality of we have to be the best, or my goal is to be the best, or my goal is to be the best right now, can be very detrimental. Ugh.